Hi, this is Donna Warren with the Critical Thinking Center at the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point, and today, in the fifth and final video of this series, I would like to talk about critical thinking dispositions. And the question that I would like us to ask ourselves is, am I being charitable? But first, what is a critical thinking disposition? Well, way back in the beginning of this series, we saw that critical thinking is the intentional process of identifying, analyzing, evaluating, and constructing reasoning in deciding what conclusions to draw in argumentation or actions to take in decision-making or problem-solving. A critical thinking skill is the ability to engage in a set of actions that supports that contributes to good reasoning. And so far, we've focused on skills. We focused on the skills that it takes to answer questions like, what am I assuming if we're engaged in argumentation? Or am I looking ahead if we're engaged in decision making? Or is there a better option if we're engaged in problem solving? So far, we've really been focusing on critical thinking skills. A critical thinking disposition is not really a set of actions that you engage in, although it's closely related to a set of actions, but it's more like a character trait or a habit of mind that supports good reasoning. It's less about what you choose to do than who you choose to be. So, what critical thinking disposition do I think is really important to talk about right now? Charitable interpretation. A charitable interpretation is essentially interpreting somebody's ideas or arguments in the best possible light. It's choosing to see people as basically rational and well-intentioned. It's extending to other people, even people who say things that we find false or troubling, the benefit of the doubt. This can be hard to do. It can be, I'm not denying that. I'm not denying that sometimes people will say things and it can make us angry. It can hurt our feelings. It can make us feel scared. It can make us feel threatened. It can make us feel outraged. It's exactly in those moments when it's important to engage intentionally charitable interpretation and to be the kind of person who listens to other people in a spirit of generosity and desire to understand. Assuming that if someone is saying something I find false or offensive, they might have some kind of reason for saying it, and asking myself, what are those reasons? What does the world look like from that person's perspective? How is that person thinking? So, why is it useful to do this? Why is it useful to adopt a charitable interpretation, even and maybe especially when it's hard? Here's why it's useful. First, we very seldom, in fact, maybe never, can know for sure what's going on inside another person's heart or in another person's head. This can be a source of some frustration, but there's a silver lining. The silver lining to this not knowing for sure is that we have some latitude to choose. When I interpret somebody else, I can choose probably the most useful interpretation, right? So what would be the most useful interpretation? I think that the charitable interpretation, assuming that someone is basically acting from a position of desire to know, of doing the best they can, in a spirit of being somewhat well-intentioned, especially if, even if we have to kind of dig to see where those good intentions are. I think that's useful because it promotes dialogue. If I'm talking to somebody and I walk into that conversation just kind of exuding the, guess what? I think you're stupid and evil, and I don't know how anybody could ever think the crazy things that you are thinking, that person's going to shut down. I am never going to really understand what's going on with them. I'm never really going to understand the world from their point of view. On the other hand, if I walk into a conversation with the attitude of, I think you and I differ pretty dramatically on some pretty significant issues, but I'm open to understanding how you see things and how you think about what you see, because I'm convinced that at bottom, you're a basically good, rational human being. That person will probably want to talk to me. I'm going to get dialogue going. And we need dialogue. I think dialogue is kind of an intrinsic good. Dialogue is something that we should be promoting for its own sake. But we need it. Why do we need it? Because the world is complicated. The problems that we face are far too big for any one person or for any one even group of people to conceivably solve. If we are going to get a handle on the challenges that are facing us societally or collectively or personally even, we need to talk to other people and we need to benefit from what they can tell us. And we need to help them to benefit from what we can tell them. In other words, we need them to listen. We need to listen to them. And charitable interpretation really opens up that spirit of listening. So I think that's what I would like to leave you with. Please try to be charitable. Try to see people in the best possible light. It's useful. And I personally think it's probably true. This has been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed this. I hope you have too. See you later, maybe. Bye-bye.